Captain Derone walked through the dim, cold corridor of his cargo ship. The engines hummed in the background, and lights flickered as the old freighter drifted through deep space. He was on a simple mission, just delivering supplies to an outer colony. Nothing unusual until he opened the cargo bay. His foot stopped. At mid-dash step, something moved behind a stack of metal crates. Darren narrowed his eyes. Nothing should be moving. No animals were loaded, and the crates were sealed. He reached for his plasma cutter, stepping slowly toward the shadows. Another soft rustle. A breath. Then he saw her. A girl. Alien, but humanoid. Skin pale violet, long tangled hair falling over her shoulders, and large golden eyes filled with fear. She was curled up in a corner, hugging her knees, wearing only a torn sheet around her body. Her feet were bare, her lips trembling from the cold. Darren froze. She didn't speak, just stared like a hunted animal. Then, in a shaky voice, she whispered, "Please, don't turn me in to the traitor." His hand relaxed off the plasma cutter. "What are you doing on my ship?" he asked, keeping his voice calm. I was hiding," she said, eyes darting around like she expected someone to drag her away any second. "They were going to sell me. I escaped during loading. I found this ship open. I didn't mean to cause trouble." Duran looked at her. Small, thin, terrified. She had nothing. Not even shoes. He glanced around to make sure no one else had snuck in. They were alone. Just one stowaway. Just one frightened girl. "I should report you," he said. Her eyes widened. She crawled forward. On her knees, lowering her head. "Please, ... I'll do anything. I'll give you my body. Just don't give me back." The words hit him like a cold slap. She had said it like it was normal. Like it was expected. "No," Duran said, stepping back, surprised. "That's not what this is." She looked confused. She didn't understand. Her whole world had trained her to believe her only value was what she could offer physically. She reached out, placing a shaking hand on his boot. Poured, "Please, please, ... You can have me." Duran pulled off his jacket and tossed it toward her. "Put this on." "You're freezing," he said. "You're not for sale here." She looked at the jacket like it was a weapon, not a gift. Slowly, she wrapped it around herself. It was too big, but it was warm. She clutched it tight and started crying silently. Darren sighed. He turned and walked back to the control panel near the wall. He tapped into the life support and adjusted the temperature of the cargo bay. Warm air began to blow in. "You hungry?" he asked. She didn't answer. "I'll bring food. Stay here. Don't move." He left, locking the inner door behind him, not to trap her, but to protect her from anyone else who might come in. In the small galley, he reheated a nutrient pack, poured hot water into a metal cup, placed it all on a tray. He didn't know who she was. He didn't know what planet she came from or why she was being sold. But one thing was clear. Someone had treated her like cargo, and she believed she was worthless unless someone owned her. Back in the cargo bay, he placed the tray beside her. She didn't look at him, just stared at the food. "It's not poisoned," he said dryly. She picked up the cup with both hands, still trembling. Her lips touched the edge, and for the first time, warmth spread across her face. She drank slowly, watching him from the corner of her eye. "What's your name?" Duran asked. She hesitated. "You don't have to lie," he added. "Just your real name." "Kira," she said quietly. "I'm Duran, captain of this ship." She nodded, unsure if that meant she belonged to him now. "You're safe here, Kira," he said. "I won't turn you in. I won't touch you. Just rest." Her eyes filled again, but this time, not with fear, something else. Something she hadn't felt in a long time. She lay down, still clutching the jacket, and curled up beside the warm crate. As Darren walked back to the bridge, he knew one thing: this trip was no longer about cargo. He had just taken on a passenger the galaxy wanted to forget. But he couldn't. Forget the way she looked at him. Not with seduction, not with need, just with hope, and that was harder to carry than any crate. Kira sat on the edge of the small cot in the corner of the engine room. It was warmer here, and the jacket he'd given her still smelled like oil, metal, and something clean. She didn't understand why he hadn't done anything to her. Yet, Every male she had ever met wanted something. Her fingers clutched the cup of warm liquid he'd left earlier, now empty. Her eyes were fixed on the floor, too afraid to explore the rest of the ship, too unsure to trust the silence. Then the door opened. She jumped, curling her knees to her chest. It was him again, Captain Duran, a tall human man with tired eyes, strong arms, and a quiet walk. He wasn't wearing any armor now, just a worn gray shirt and utility pants. He placed a folded blanket on the bench and sat down. Not too close. Kira watched him carefully. She'd been waiting for this. It always came eventually. The moment when kindness ended and the cost was collected, she stood up slowly, dropping the jacket from her shoulders. The thin cloth under it barely covered her body. But she stepped forward with her head lowered. "I'm ready," she whispered. Darren looked confused. "Ready for what?" "You?" she said softly. "You fed me. You warmed me." "I know what." "Oh," he stood. "Put that back on." She didn't move. "You want it now?" she asked. "Or somewhere else?" His jaw clenched. "I said put the jacket back on." Kira's eyes flickered with panic. Was she doing it wrong? Was this not how humans took payment? She started to kneel. "No," he said sharply. Then softer, "Kira, look at me." Gosh. She lifted her eyes. "I didn't feed you so you could pay me. With your body? I fed you because you were cold and starving. You're not a slave here." Her lips parted in disbelief. "You're lying," she said. "No one gives without taking." "I'm not like the others who hurt you," Duran said. "You don't owe me anything." "But I don't know what else I can give," she whispered. He walked to the wall and opened a locker. From it, he pulled out a fresh jumpsuit, clean, simple, soft fabric. He handed it to her. "Give me one thing," he said. "Wear this. Not for me, for yourself." She took it with shaking hands. He turned around to give her privacy, then added, "Quietly, you deserve to be warm and safe without giving yourself away." Kira stared at the jumpsuit like it was treasure. No chains, no tags, no collar, just clothes, real clothes. She slowly dressed, not just covering her body, but feeling something inside shift. When she stepped out, she looked ... different. Not because of the clothes, but because of the way she stood taller. "You look better already," Duran said with a small smile. She blinked fast, trying to hide the way her eyes stung. "Your single quotes, Rye." "Strange," she muttered. "Thanks," he said, grabbing a data pad from the table. "Now let's figure out where you're from and who's looking for you." Her shoulders tightened. "No," she said quickly. "Don't connect to anything. They'll find me. They're searching systems." He paused. "You were being traded on the black routes?" She nodded. "I was marked defective, not obedient enough. So they sent me to be sold off system, to disappear." Duran leaned against the wall, thinking, "You're safe here, but they'll be scanning ports. If I dock anywhere official, they'll flag your biometrics." She looked up. "Why are you helping me?" He shrugged. "Maybe I'm just tired of seeing people thrown away like garbage." Silence settled between them. She stepped closer. "What happens now?" Darren glanced at the star map, flickering on the console. "Now we head somewhere no one asks questions. After that, we'll figure out the next step." Kira tilted her head. "You keep saying we, your crew now," he said. "I don't know how to fly or fix anything. You'll learn." Kira sat back on the bench, pulling her knees up and wrapping the new blanket around her. For the first time, she wasn't shivering. For the first time, she wasn't afraid to close. Her eyes dotted for the first time. She realized something shocking. She didn't want to be owned anymore. She wanted to belong. Kira stood alone in the engine bay, holding a small wrench in her hand. It felt strange, heavy, cold, but clean. Darren had told her how to hold it, how to turn bolts gently, not to break things with panic. He said she was learning fast. Wasn't sure if he meant it, or if he was just being kind. The jumpsuit he gave her didn't itch anymore. Her bruises were fading. Her ribs no longer poked out. She had even started eating 3 full meals a day without guilt, but still something inside her was trapped, Every time Duran walked into the room, she froze. Her hands would stop working. Her eyes would drop. Breath would slow, ready for a command or a punishment. And every time he did the same thing, he ignored her fear. He'd talk about the next system, or what parts needed tightening, or ask her what she liked in her food. He never touched her, never raised his voice, never locked the doors. She didn't understand him. Late one cycle, while Darren was fixing a busted coolant valve, Kira watched from the corner of the room, her fingers fidgeting. "Why haven't you asked me to repay you?" she said softly. He didn't look up. "Repay me for what? For food, clothes, warmth?" He chuckled under his breath. "That's not how I work, Kira." She walked closer, her steps unsure. "Then why are you doing this? You could have sold me and made thousands." He turned around, grease on his hands, face calm. "You think being kind needs a reason?" "Yes," she said without hesitation. "Always." Darren wiped his hands and leaned against the wall. "I used to believe that too," he said. "Until someone helped me when I had nothing. No questions, no payment. They just did it. I never forgot." Kira looked away. "What happened to them?" she asked. "They died," he said simply. "In a station fire, could have saved themselves. Chose to save others instead." Kira's hands tightened. "I wouldn't have," she whispered. "I would have run." "You've been running your whole life," Duran said. "No one taught you what staying feels like." She wanted to argue, but her throat tightened. Later that night, she sat in the corner of the ship's quiet mess. Room Duran had gone to sleep. She stared at the worn wall panel, tracing the patterns with her finger. She still couldn't sleep on the bed. The softness made her feel unsafe. She kept thinking she would wake up in chains again. She curled up on the floor under the table, but this time she didn't cry. The next day, while flying through an unmonitored sector, a soft beep echoed through. "The ship's comes." Kira looked up from the console she was cleaning. Duran walked in, eyebrows raised. "Message traffic," he muttered. Tapping the controls, a voice came through, rough, deep, coded. "Unmarked freighter seen leaving border zone. Cargo scan triggered, unauthorized life form. Reward issued for female escapee. Last seen near Vexen trade lanes. Immediate report requested." Kira backed away from the console. "They're looking for me," she whispered. "I know." Darren's jaw tightened. He powered off the comms and walked over to her. "We're changing course." "You should turn me in," she said quickly. "They'll stop chasing you. No, you'll lose your ship." "I've lost more important things before." She shook her head, her breath coming faster. "I can't cost you everything." "You're not a cost," Kira Duran said. "You're a person." "But I don't feel like one," she said, voice cracking. He knelt beside her, keeping his hands to himself. "You're allowed to feel broken," he said. "But don't mistake that for being worthless." Her eyes filled, but she didn't look away. "You think I can be free one day?" "Think you already are," he said. "You just don't believe it yet." That night, Kira sat on her bed, staring at her hands. They weren't trembling. She wasn't waiting for pain. For the first time, she realized he wasn't going to hurt her. He wasn't going to trade her. He wasn't going to use her. She whispered to herself, testing the word, "crew." Felt strange, but it also felt ... real. And slowly something inside her began to shift. The stars outside the ship looked calm, but the tension inside the cockpit was anything but. Captain Duran leaned forward, staring at the flashing alert on his nav screen. Kira stood behind him, arms folded tight against her chest, heart pounding. Louder than the engines, a patrol ship had just dropped out of warp ahead of them, unmarked, but fast. "Too fast for coincidence?" "They're not trade officials," Duran muttered. "They're hunters." Kira stepped closer. "Are they here for me?" He didn't answer. The screen blinked red. A comm signal buzzed through the speakers. Unregistered. "Vessel, reduce speed and prepare for boarding. You have been flagged for a live cargo scan." Duran didn't flinch. "Stay quiet. Hide in the floor bay." Kira hesitated. "You can still turn me in. Say I forced my way aboard. They'll believe you." "No," he said firmly. "I won't lose you to people like that." She swallowed hard. You'll be branded a trafficker if they find me. I'm already a smuggler in half the outer colonies, he said with a grin. One more label won't matter. He opened a hidden floor panel beneath the console. Inside was a cramped storage compartment lined with heat shielding and signal blockers. Get in, he said. Kira crawled inside, curling her body tight. The space was small, dark, but safer than anything she'd known before. He placed a hand on the lid, his voice low. Don't move, no matter what you hear. Then he sealed it. Minutes later, heavy boots echoed on the deck. Darren opened the main hatch. 2 patrol officers stepped inside, black suits, face masks, stun rifles in hand. No smiles. No words. They spread out, scanning the room with flashing blue lights. Traveling alone? One of them asked. Always, Duran replied. You've crossed 3 flagged routes. That's suspicious. I carry parts no one else wants. Backwater colonies pay better. The officer checked a tablet. Cargo log doesn't match port scans. Some clients pay off record. A second officer moved toward the engine room. Kira held her breath. She could hear the faint click of boots above her head, the hum of the scanner, the voice through the walls. Anything organic? Nothing yet. Heat signatures clear. If she's aboard, she's shielded. We can bring in dogs. Darren's voice stayed calm. You'll damage my ship. The first officer paused, tapping on his device. Your license is old. Real old. I've had this ship since before your scanner tech was a sketch on a napkin. The man raised a brow behind his mask. We should search the floor panels, he said. Kira's heart nearly stopped. Then came a loud crash. Darren dropped a container of tools right behind the man. Oops, he said casually. My hands slip when I'm being insulted. The officer turned. We'll let you off with a warning, he said coldly. This time, both men stepped back through the hatch, disappearing into the corridor. The door sealed. Silence returned. Darren knelt beside the floor panel, tapped twice, lifted it. Kira blinked against the light, her face pale. They were so close, she whispered, but they didn't find you. She climbed out, legs weak, and sat down on the floor. I heard what he said. If they catch me here again, you'll go to prison. I've lived in worse places than prison, Darren said. And none of them had you in them. Kira looked at him, eyes wide. You're not afraid? He leaned back against the wall, sighing. I'm afraid all the time. But that doesn't mean I stop doing what's right. She reached for his hand. This time, he didn't pull away. That night she couldn't sleep. The hum of the ship felt louder, the shadows longer. But there was something else, something heavier than fear. Guilt. He was risking everything for her, and what had she ever given him? Not her body, not her skills, not even her trust fully. She sat up, walked barefoot down the corridor, and stopped at the cockpit where Darren was half asleep in the pilot chair. He opened one eye. Kira. She sat down. Across from him. You're marked now, she said quietly. You're officially a criminal. I've been worse, he smiled. She looked away, voice tight. I never asked you to save me. I didn't need you to. Why? Darren leaned forward, looking at her with soft eyes. Because no one should be hunted for wanting to be free. Kira didn't answer. She just leaned back in her seat, watching the stars pass by, and for the first time, she let her heart believe something dangerous. She wasn't a burden. She was worth the risk. Kira stood in front of the airlock, her fingers shaking as she pressed the override panel. The light blinked red, then green. The door began to hiss open. She took a deep breath. It was early morning at the Rimport station, a quiet, shady place, where no one asked questions and smugglers blended in with merchants. It's the kind of place Duran had brought her to hide in, the perfect place to disappear. She left a note on the mess hall table, asked for words, scratched into a metal plate with a piece of wire. Thank you. I'm sorry she didn't take the jumpsuit. She didn't take the food pack. She didn't even wear shoes. She didn't want anything that felt like his. Leaving would protect him. That's what she told herself. But every step away from the ship felt like something was tearing inside her. Kira slipped into the station corridors, keeping her head down. The walls here were rusted and loud, filled with voices and smoke and faces she didn't recognize, but some of them recognized her. 3 men in long coats, leaning against a market wall, suddenly stopped talking when they saw her pass. One of them narrowed his eyes. The scanner on his wrist blinked. Her face, older and bruised in the file, flashed across it. He smiled. "Hey," he called. "You lost, sweetheart." She turned the corner fast, picking up her pace. Her bare feet slapped the cold metal floor. She tried to disappear into a crowd of traders, but someone grabbed her wrist. "Easy now," said the voice behind her. "We've been paid good credits for you." Kira twisted and broke free, but the others were already closing in. Panic rushed through her chest. The same panic she'd felt in cages, on sale platforms. In the dark, she ran. Down the ramp, past the food stalls, through a narrow alley that stank of oil and blood. She turned a sharp corner and froze. A wall, no exit. She spun around. The 3 men blocked the alley entrance. "No more running," one of them said. "The boss wants his property back." Kira's hands clenched into fists. Her heart pounded. She knew what came next. Pain, chains, silence. Unless suddenly, a voice cut through the air. "You're standing in the wrong alley." The men turned. Duran stood at the far end, blaster in hand, eyes burning with fury. "I suggest you let her go." One of the men laughed. "This your pet, old man?" Darren fired. The bolt hit the metal just inches from the man's boot. The laughter stopped. "You've got 5 seconds," Darren said, stepping forward. The men looked at each other. They didn't wait for 3. They ran. Kira didn't. "Speak," as Duran led her back toward the ship. Her hands were shaking. Her lip was bleeding. But she kept walking inside. He didn't say anything either. Sealed the hatch, locked the outer doors, and reset the ship's ID code. Then he turned. To her, "Why did you leave?" She looked down. "I didn't want them to take you because of me. They nearly took you instead. I didn't know where else to go. You could have asked me." Her eyes welled up. "I thought I was doing the right thing." "You don't have to protect me by hurting yourself," he said. "Not anymore." Kira walked to the table where her note still sat. She picked it up and held it out. "I meant this." Darren read the scratched words again, then gently set the plate down. "Don't say sorry for surviving." Kira's voice dropped. "I was afraid you wouldn't come after me. I was afraid you wouldn't let me." That night, she didn't sleep on the floor. She walked into the crew cabin and climbed onto the bunk where she'd refused to lie before. It was soft too. Soft. But she didn't get up. And when the lights dimmed and the hum of the ship filled her ears, she closed her eyes. Not out of fear, but trust. Outside, the stars kept moving. But inside her, something finally stopped running. Kira stood in front of the small mirror in the ship's washroom, staring at her reflection. Her long, tangled hair was uneven and dull. Her skin had scars, some healed, some still fresh. She touched the edge of one across her collarbone and closed her eyes. This was the body they had all wanted. The one they tried to sell, trade, use, but not him, not Darren. He saw past it every time. And now, for the first time, she wanted to see herself the way he did. She turned on the sink, filled a small metal bowl with warm water, and grabbed a blade. From the toolkit, carefully, silently, she began cutting away the weight. Her hair fell in chunks onto the floor. Old strands, old memories. She didn't cry. When she looked up again, her face had changed. Still the same features, but no longer hidden behind fear or filth. She wrapped herself in a fresh towel, cleaned the sink, and left the room barefoot. The ship was quiet, just the soft humming of the thrusters. Darren was in the cargo bay, fixing one of the loading arms. His hands were covered in oil, his shirt soaked with sweat. Looked up as she entered, and paused. Kira stood tall, hair shorter, cleaner, her face open, her posture stronger. He blinked, surprised but not by her appearance. By her eyes, they weren't scared anymore. "You look different," he said. "I feel different," she replied. He handed her a cloth. She took it, knelt beside him, started wiping the tools without being asked. They worked together in silence, not servant and master, not protector and rescued, just crew. Just two people sharing space in a universe that didn't care if they lived or died. Later, they sat in the galley, eating rehydrated stew from metal bowls. Kira had started adding herbs to the food, learning what flavors Daron liked. He never asked her. Touche just wanted to. She looked up from her bowl. Can I ask something personal? Darren nodded. Why haven't you ever touched me? Stopped. Eating not because the question shocked him, but because she asked it, without fear. He wiped his mouth and set the bowl down. Because you're not mine to touch. Her voice was soft. You could have that first night. It's every night after. I know, and you didn't want to. He smiled faintly. I wanted to help you heal more than I wanted anything else. Kira looked down at her hands. Broke so much of me, she whispered. Even now, sometimes I flinch when I dream. I know, he said again. I've seen it. Shh. She reached across the table and placed her hand over his. I'm not offering myself because I think I have to, she said. I want to feel something ... real, not forced, not bought, just ... human. He held her hand gently. You already do, he replied, and you don't have to give me your body to prove it. She looked into his eyes, searching for a lion. Found none, then what do you want from me? She asked. A future, he said. One where you get to choose everything, not just survive. Tears filled her eyes, but she didn't hide them. Not this time. That night, stood outside his cabin door for a long moment, then walked away not because she was scared, but because she respected what he gave her. Time, choice, type, freedom. The next morning, she was up before him, checking engine stats on the console. She was learning the ship systems now. Daron had started teaching her with patience, never raising his voice when she made mistakes. He joined her quietly and watched her type. You're getting good, he said. She smiled. You're not a bad teacher. He sipped his coffee and leaned back. Next stop, we reached the Vale sector. It's quiet out there. You'll be able to start fresh. No records, no hunters. Kira nodded, her face calm. I want to stay with you, she said. Not as a rescued girl, as a partner. I want to build something with my own hands. Darren looked at her for a long time. You already are. And in that moment, Kira felt something she never believed she could feel again. Clean. Not in body, in soul. The freighter drifted through a nebula of soft blue mist, the stars hidden behind clouds of gas and dust. It was quiet, peaceful, like the galaxy itself had finally stopped to breathe. Kira stood near the front viewing window, arms crossed, watching the light swirl outside. She had never seen space like this before, not from the safety of a ship she trusted, not with a man who had never once looked at her like property. Daron entered the room with a small case in his hand. He placed it on the console and nodded toward her. You ready? Kira turned. What's that? He opened the case. Inside was a data card, an identity chip, and a worn flight badge. Your name, your records, your new life, he said. Registered in the Vale sector. All clean. No one can trace you now. Kira stepped forward, staring down at the items. Is this really for me? You earned it, he said. Your crew? She touched the badge gently. I've never had anything official before. You do now. Her hands closed the case slowly. I don't want to leave the ship, she said. I don't want to disappear and never see you again. You don't have to, he said. But now, if you stay, it's not because you're hiding. It's because you want to. Kira looked up at him. I want to. Aaron nodded. Like, he already knew the answer. He leaned against the wall, watching her take a seat by the control panel. Her fingers moving over the systems like she'd been born to fly. For a while, neither of them spoke. Then she asked quietly, What do you call someone like me? Someone who used to be owned ... used ... now has no place to go. He looked at her, eyes steady. I call you family. Her chest tightened. No one had ever called her that before. Not even when she still had blood relatives. Not when she cried. In the cages, not when she begged strangers just to be noticed. But now this small, Dented ship in the middle of nowhere, someone finally saw her as something more. Not a servant, not a body, not a burden. Family. Hours later, the ship landed. On a quiet planet near the Vale sector, the colony there was small and private, known for accepting outsiders, lost ones. People starting over. Duran stepped out first. Kira followed, her boots hitting real ground for the first time in years. Children ran past in the distance. Traitors. Laughed at a stall nearby. The air was clean, warm, with a hint of spice from the market food. Kira breathed in deep. It didn't smell like cages. It smelled like life. They walked to a small structure at the edge of the port half station. Home. Duran handed her the keys. "This is yours," he said. She blinked. "You're giving me a home? I'm giving you a choice," he said. "You can live here or come back to the ship. Or both. No chains, no debts. Just freedom." Kira stepped. Inside, the room was small but clean. A bed, a table, a window, and something even more valuable. Silence. She turned back toward him. "Will you come visit?" she asked. "I'll be parked just outside the port," he smiled. "In case you ever need cargo moved or dinner company." Kira stepped forward and hugged him. Not because she was broken, not because she was scared, but because she finally felt strong enough to love someone without losing herself. Darren held her gently. No pressure, no promises, just warmth. Weeks passed. She built her own workbench. She helped locals with repairs. She started teaching a young alien boy how to fix engines, the same way Daron had taught her. And sometimes at night, when the stars came out, she sat on her porch looking up. And when she saw his ship drift across the sky, she smiled. Because now she wasn't hiding. She was living. She was whole. She was family.